a story for you.
Never happened to me, never happened to me, never happened to me, could never happen to me. Jake was having a good time, drinking with some friends. It was the kind of night that you just wished would never end. Party at Melissa's, consumed enough liquor to wear tomorrow morning the regrets would surely hit you. Jake was the life of the party, Mr. Smooth and Cool, college student that had been popular since grade school. Now it's a little after 2, Jake decided to leave. Melissa thought he was too drunk and tried taking his keys. She pleaded with him just to stay until he sobered up. Jake insisted he was fine, proceeded to his truck. He didn't have too far to go, just watch for cops and drive slow. He'd done it so many times in the past, he was a pro. Got a soul on the road, just less than a mile to go. Just then the skies opened up and down came the snow. Jake was wasted and tired, his vision becoming blurry. Started driving a little faster, trying to get home in a hurry. The streets was getting slippery, covered with ice. His eyelids was getting heavy, didn't see the red light. Straight through the intersection, he tried slamming the brakes. Headed straight for another car, his reaction too late. Hit the other cars, driver's side, a woman inside. Paramedics arrived, but yo, she couldn't be revived. Jake survived with only bruises, scrapes and cuts. They pulled him out his truck and threw him into some cups. The next morning, Jake awoke to find himself in jail. Sick, sore and tired and feeling like hell. He asked if anyone else in the accident was hurt. They said a single mother on the way home from work. She died at the scene, now her kids are all alone. You wanna explain to them why mommy's never coming home? How could such a great night end so grim? Jake never thought something like this could happen to him. And if he could go back and make it right, that night that changed his life, I know he would.
I know he would.
I'm sure he would.
I'm sure he would if only he could.
And if he could turn back the hands of time and make everything be just fine, I know he would.
I know he would.
I'm sure he would.
I'm sure he would if only he could. She worked the late shift at a local gas station. It was a long night, but at last she made it. 1 o'clock rolled around, and Tanya's headed home when she got the ring on a cellular phone. It was Pam. She had excitement in her tone. There's a party, and she don't wanna go alone. She's like, come on, girlfriend, it's only one something. Besides, how long's it been since we've done something? Tanya agreed and went home to put on her best blouse. After all, they were going out to Jeff's house. This was the guy she had a crush on, the fish she couldn't catch, and in her eyes they were the perfect match. Everything was intact. She picked up Pam and they drove to the place. Not a person in that house had a sober face. They felt like they had a little catching up to do, so they smoked a blunt and had a couple cups of brew. And at this point, Tanya hadn't seen Jeff yet, so she put a drink on the TV set, headed upstairs and opened up the bedroom door, turned on the light switch, and guess what she saw? Who? Jeff, the coke fiend, doing some lines. He said, hey, I hope you're having a good old time. She was high as a kite. He said, I'm hoping you might come and join me. You'll be good for the rest of the night. She would have done anything and everything he said. She did a couple of lines and ended up in the bed. And what happened next turned into a night full of passion and sex, one that she would never forget. A few months later, she started getting pains in her stomach, so she went to the doctor to see what was it. He said, you're pregnant, Tanya, you're having a child. And all she could do was shake her head and crack a smile. She told no one, not Pam, not her mother or father. Poor Tanya. And 5 months later, she went into labor, driven to the hospital by a next door neighbor. But it was too late, the baby was stillborn, and she's yet to come to grips cause she's still torn. Not a day goes by, she don't cry, she still mourns, and it's hard for her to find what to live for. They found traces of cocaine in the baby's veins, and she's going insane, trying to cope with the blame, blinded by the passion of a fool. But now she's living proof that this could happen to you. And if she could go back and make it right, that night that changed her life, I know she would.
I know she would.
I'm sure she would.
I'm sure she would if only she could.
And if she could turn back the hands of time and make everything be just fine, I know she would.
I know she would.
I'm sure she would.
I'm sure she would if only she could. It could happen to you,
and it could happen to me,
and it could happen to you,
and it could happen to me.